Wall Street Journal, this quote just screams a conversation with Chuck Robbins. In terms of tech, the world has been unifying for years. Now it is reverting back to the likes of VHS versus Betamax with much bigger consequences. The idea being that we could have two completely different areas of the world operating with very, very different equipment, two completely different worlds of tech. Is that where you see things going?
Well, I actually don't think we'll end up there, but I think that's certainly a risk. I think if you look at what we've done historically with the internet, there have been the opportunity for lots of different manufacturers to participate and provide equipment and solutions and software. We just had a really robust standards process through which we defined standards and everyone adhered to them, and then therefore you could communicate regardless. And I think the most important thing we need to do right now is actually ensure that regardless of what happens, that we're all collectively working on the next generation standards so that we can maintain that open communication.
You've been very respectful of some of your competition. I'll name them, Huawei. You often don't. In certain markets, they're being frozen out, or the US government is putting pressure on those particular countries to freeze them out. It just makes me wonder how you're going to get a firmer foothold in a place like China when you see this happening with a company like Huawei. And this goes all the way back to the issue we've started the conversation with. It might not be where you want things to go, it's where people think it is going. Why isn't that the case? Well,
I think ultimately the need to have global communication standards will take over, and we'll figure out ways to deal with multi-vendor systems, and we'll figure it out. I think that there's discussions going on right now in Washington around how do we make sure we're engaging on standards. So I think everybody realizes that this is a really important thing for us to get right. No one wants us to get to a balkanized situation. I mean, at least most of us don't want that to happen.
Sure.
So I really don't believe we'll get there.
So you're not conceding that as a US company, your chances of getting big in a place like China are pretty remote?
Well, they're two independent issues. Right.
So, well, let's talk about both of them.
So the standards issue is just to ensure that we can pass traffic.
Yeah.
Right. That's foundational. And then obviously what happens in China is up to the Chinese. And so they, we've worked hard for years over there to build up trust. We've been there for 30 years. And this situation that we have right now has created some short-term confusion, short-term challenges, and my hope is that once we get past it, that we'll begin to accelerate our business in China. We'll find a way to do business there, but we'll have to see.
Clear tensions between the United States and Chinese over the last 18 months, many more years before that as well. But at the moment, we finally have a phase one agreement. Let's call it a truce. Something has been weighing on Cisco's stock over the last 6 months is not a secret. It's business spending. Yeah. Have things changed for the better? What are you seeing in the business right now?
Well, if you think about what's happened over the last 6 months, the activity with our customers hasn't declined. And our customers today understand that the technology we build and the other companies build, it's core to their strategy moving forward. It doesn't enable their business, it is the business. I mean, everything that they do is dependent upon technology now. So we still see the same level of activity. We're engaged in the same number of opportunities. It's just that we saw a little bit of a pause because I think of the uncertainty around what happens with China, to a lesser extent USMCA, which we also have resolved, to some extent, Brexit, which we soon will have resolved. So actually, I believe that if we can begin to just get more clarity in the system, the markets and business don't like uncertainty.
Well, what's morale like at the moment? For you in the C-suite, it was a masterclass in execution, getting ready for the tariffs, and getting ready to adjust the supply chain, bang, done. Yeah. And then you get hit around the head by the macro issues. Yeah. How do you cope with that?
Well, you can't do a lot about it. So you just have to continue innovating, continue doing the things you do. Yeah. Be prepared, be ready with your customers. And but again, this hasn't been a massive, significant fall off. It was just what I call is just a shallow pause where we see customers. If you're buying capital equipment, it's easy to say, let's just wait another month or two, or let's get another set of eyes on it. The good news for us is we've made huge progress on our software transition. 30% of our product business is now coming from software. you know, the tough part in this kind of environment is 70% still hardware.
So a lot of it is subscription, a lot of it is recurring revenue. You and I talk about it almost every quarter.
Yeah.
On the business at the moment, though, the concerns that were a drag on the stock from the middle of last year through to year end, are you seeing those business decisions pick up again, that CapEx spend pick up again as we enter into 2020 and some of these macro stories, the risks around them start to diminish?
Well, we actually are finishing our quarter this week, so I'm not going to say anything about what we see right now, but what I would tell you is that we've just seen these 2 trade deals get done in the last week or so. So I think it's too early to really say. Those were the 2 biggest things, I think, that could re-energize confidence and allow us to start moving forward again.
People that follow the stock and maybe aren't in the stock at the moment, there has been a change from you guys. I understand you're selling chips directly to businesses, right? That's a change for you.
It is a change.
What's the thought behind that? Why do you think you're going to gain traction here?
Well, when I became CEO, one of the things that I said was that we're going to sell our technology to our customers in any way they would like to consume it. And so we've delivered our technology as a service to certain customers. We've moved to more software capabilities for other customers. And some of our customers just said, hey, I'd like to buy your silicon instead of your system. And so we said, if that's what you like to do, then we'll meet you where you want to be with us. And so it was well received.
Is there a risk that it could cannibalize some of the bigger price items that you could sell?
No, look, I think that if they don't want to buy our systems, then if they don't want to buy systems, they want to build their own, then you either get zero or you provide optics and you provide silicon.
Yep.
And we have some customers that actually are running our software on their proprietary hardware. They're running, you know, our software on their hardware. I mean, there's all sorts of models, and we're just trying to be flexible with our customers.
A final question for you, Chuck. As you sit here looking out 12 months, many of the CEOs that have come to the World Economic Forum here in Davos are increasingly pessimistic. Compared to where you were at the beginning of 19, looking out 12 months, are things better now?
I'd say they're pretty much the same, but I've been surprised at this notion that there's pessimism. I don't feel that. I think that
since some of the surveys out there.
Well, I tell you what, I've been in Davos when there's been pessimism.
Yeah.
And this doesn't feel like that, I'll tell you. I think that, look, the U.S. economy's been strong. We clearly have some sluggishness in some of the emerging countries. The global IMF, you know, GDP expectations were lowered slightly. But I think that, you know, if we can get some of these, if we can really execute on moving past some of these trade issues, and we get Brexit behind us, and I'm optimistic.